Welcome, wayward travelers, to the Scarlet Tavern, where stories are told in the candlelight, and the in truth is chased like spirits in a bottle.
The Texas sun had barely set on the smoke filled hilltop when the fragile ceasefire, February 28th, hardened into something far more ominous. What began as a botched raid had become a 51-day siege, the longest and most watched law enforcement standoff in modern American history. Tanks rumbled into position around Mount Carmel. Bright floodlights pierced the night. Loudspeakers blasted everything from rock music to Tibetan chants. Inside, David Koresh and his followers waited, wounded but resolute, while outside the FBI tried every tool in its arsenal to end the crisis without further bloodshed.
In this second episode, we step inside the compound to see what daily life was like under siege. The dwindling supplies, the marathon Bible studies, the quiet fear and fierce fate of families trapped between belief and bullets. We trace the breakdowns in negotiations and the internal clashes between FBI negotiators and tactical commanders. We follow the controversial decisions that led to the final assault on April 19th and the fire that consumed the building in a matter of hours. Finally, we examine the official investigations, congressional hearings, and the enduring legacy that continues to fuel debates about government power, religious freedom, and the deadly cost of escalation.
Content warning. This episode contains detailed descriptions of violence, mass death, including the deaths of children, fire, psychological operations, and intense human suffering. Listener discretion is strongly advised. If these topics are difficult for you, please take care of yourself and join us for a future episode. Pull up a chair here at Scarlet Tavern, pour something strong, and lean in. The siege is about to begin.
This is Scarlet Tavern.
Clink.
Put that in there, sorry.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I felt like that needed the Wild West, voice. We were also talking about Old Gods of Appalachia. Great podcast. Shout out to them. If you haven't watched it, go listen to it or watch it. They have a YouTube as well. They've also played their game. We've also played their game. Great game. I have a poster. You can't see it, but it's right up here. If I might flip that around. Put the map up. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. I just thought it was different. I've debated on doing the rest of this in that style. But yeah.
We're getting into the cluster. I'll excuse my language. The clusterfuck that is the siege of Waco.
Yeah. So at this point, we're gonna talk a little bit. We're gonna kind of go backwards a little bit, like the morning after the raid. Talk about what is going on inside the compound. And then we'll talk about a familiar name.
Don't think he came up in the research that I came across, but
he's there. He's involved.
Yeah.
The sniper from Ruby Ridge.
Yeah.
Was involved in this.
Luckily, he didn't get any shots off this time.
Yeah, but well, this is where things are gonna get a little more graphic than the last episode because. Spoiler alert, David Koresh's children, some of them, die a fiery death.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing, but yeah, if you listen with us up to that point, great. If that's something you can't handle, we will have a new episode next week, and you can follow us with that. Timothy McVeigh isn't much better of a person, but...
So
he never targeted children.
Episode 1 isn't graphic. Episode 2 is going to be graphic. I'm still writing episode 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna kind of get into the siege. What was it like during the siege? The FBI, what they were doing, and how it all just kind of came together. And we'll get an idea. You get a great idea of. I feel like the siege is kind of the epitome of too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Chefs, however whatever you want to use for it.
All right. So,
And if you're hearing loud bangs and stuff, that's just Maury.
That's our stage manager, Maury. We've got to calm her down, otherwise she runs a tyrannical ship around here.
yeah. The morning after. No, I'm kidding. The morning after. I will save that voice for if we ever do anything about like the Wild West or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll definitely do an entire episode like that. But I might continue writing some anthology stuff, and I may pull that podcast out now that we have a lot more time. Scarlet Tavern Tales could reappear. We were talking about doing that a while ago, and we put it on hold. But now that we have a little more time, you guys may see Scarlet Tavern Tales come out at some point. Maybe by the end of the year to beginning of next year. Mm-hmm. Some fun little anthology, made up folklore kind of stuff from different parts of the world. So, yeah. So the morning after the February 28th raid, Mount Carmel felt suspended between its familiar routines and the stark new reality of encirclement. The main building carried the fresh marks of the firefight, splintered wood around window frames, shattered glass swept into corners, and dark stains on floors where the wounded had been carried inside. The community turned immediately to practical tasks. Food stores were inventoried with care. Cases of canned vegetables, bags of rice and beans, and military-style MRE rations set aside before the raid were counted, divided, and labeled for distribution. Water, once freely drawn from the compound's wells, became the most precious resource after the FBI restricted access to the main supply line. Residents placed buckets and barrels at strategic points to collect rainwater, boiling every drop on propane stoves when generators were available and using it sparingly for drinking, cooking, basic hygiene, and wound cleaning. The smell of boiling water and the quiet clink of metal cups became part of the new daily soundtrack. Adults divided labor into rotating shifts to keep the building habitable. Some tended the remaining garden plots, harvesting any greens or root vegetables that could stretch the stores. Others patched bullet holes with whatever materials were at hand, scrap wood, blankets, or pieces of furniture dragged into place. Generators were run sparingly to conserve fuel, powering only essential lights or medical equipment for short periods. Waste management became a quiet but critical task. Buckets and makeshift latrines were emptied and disinfected with limited bleach supplies. Children were kept occupied with simple, quiet activities, drawing pictures on scraps of paper, playing board games in the hallways, or listening to older members tell stories from scripture that doubled as lessons. Their laughter, when it came, echoed softly through the rooms, a reminder that life inside had not stopped, even as the world outside pressed in. And we saw that the FBI had cut off access to the main supply line. That is standard. If you think about like a bank heist, what they're going to do is if you are in there with hostages, they're cutting the power, they're cutting the AC, they're making it as uncomfortable for you as possible so that it makes it easier to negotiate with you to come out because you now want to get out of that situation. So if they cut off the water, they cut off the food lines, eventually these people need to eat and drink. Mm-hmm. And they're going to go, fuck it, I'm done. Just give me some water.
Unfortunately, this is a doomsday cult, so
they were prepared.
They were preparing for the apocalypse and to survive. So were they ever able to say how long they had food and water for, or they just
no?
We
don't. Yeah, I know that they just had enough they had enough that they were able to survive this with no issues. Obviously, it was a little bit easier because they had less members now.
Yeah. 'Cause they sent a
So
lot of children out.
they sent a lot of children out. They had people that died. So
So it says for several months to a year. It doesn't specify
yeah.
exact amounts.
So Koresh, still recovering from gunshot wounds to the hand and stomach, continued to lead Bible studies from a central gathering space or in smaller groups throughout the building. These sessions often stretched for hours, sometimes deep into the night, as he opened the scriptures and guided followers through the seven seals with the same panoramic style that had first drawn many to him. He spoke of the siege itself as part of the unfolding prophecy, connecting the tanks outside to ancient texts in ways that gave the uncertainty a larger purpose. Oh, those tanks of Babylon.
I was about to say, like,
Those tanks of Babylon.
When were APCs part of Revelation? Because I must have slipped through that Bible class.
Do you not remember the APCs marching around the walls of Jericho?
Silly me.
Followers sat on mattresses or folding chairs, some taking notes in small notebooks. Don't worry, you won't need those notes for long. Others simply listening intently. The studies were never rote, each one built on the previous, exploring fresh layers of meaning as the days passed. Families found small anchors of normalcy amid tension. Parents comforted children during the long nights, reading stories or singing hymns in soft voices. Couples who had been separated under earlier teachings found new ways to support one another, sharing quiet conversations or working side by side on chores.
I mean, it wasn't sex. None of them were allowed to have sex with each other.
Exactly. The community's intergenerational bonds, some families spanning 3 generations, provided quiet strength. Older members offered wisdom drawn from decades of study, while younger adults handled heavier physical tasks. Small acts of care became lifelines, sharing an extra portion of rice with someone who looked especially weary, or offering a blanket to a child who couldn't sleep. These gestures, quiet and practical, wove the group more tightly together. The Davidians carefully organized sleeping arrangements. Mattresses and blankets were arranged in the larger upstairs rooms to create small family clusters, while single adults took narrower spaces along the hallways. They used the compound's multiple levels to separate age groups when possible, giving teenagers a dedicated corner for quiet talk and younger children a safer area away from the windows. Personal belongings were kept in small piles beside each sleeping spot, creating tiny pockets of privacy in the crowded building. The layout allowed for quick movement between areas so watch duties could rotate without disturbing those resting. The children's routines included a makeshift learning space in one of the quieter back rooms. Older kids helped lead simple lessons in basic reading and math, using whatever paper and pencils remained. They invented games using bottle caps or small stones found around the property, turning everyday objects into tokens for counting or memory challenges. Teens took turns telling stories from their own childhoods within the community, sharing memories of garden work or earlier Bible lessons to keep the younger ones connected to the shared history. The adults made sure the children had a structured daily routine, balancing play with small responsibilities such as helping to sort clean laundry or folding blankets. Medical care extended beyond the raid wounded. Minor injuries from daily life, such as splinters from patching walls, scrapes from moving furniture, or headaches from the constant noise, were treated with the same limited supplies. The group kept a central supply station in the main hallway where a rotating team checked on everyone's condition each morning. They used clean rags boiled in water to make fresh compresses and relied on the herbal knowledge some members had brought from earlier years. The wounded from the raid received priority, but no one was overlooked. Even small complaints were noted and addressed to prevent anything from worsening.
I mean, you probably don't. People take for granted how much those small little ailments can eat up your supplies. You know, you got a bottle of Tylenol, maybe a fairly big one, but multiply dozens of people having to now draw from it, and everyone's gets headaches, this and that. That bottle's going to go fast.
Yeah,
and you can't just go to like CVS or Rite Aid and just go grab some more.
Yeah.
I believe the Branch Davidians had a few doctors.
Yeah, I mean, what's all good a doctor's going to do if he's got nothing to treat you with?
Yeah, it's true.
No, they did not.
Oh, they did.
They had no medical doctors.
Huh.
Yeah,
Well, probably too smart to fall into the
you'd
trap
be
of-
surprised.
I know.
You
I
would
was gonna
be
say
surprised.
these people are incredibly charismatic.
Yeah, you'd be very surprised. I know they had lawyers.
Yeah, they had
Yeah.
one. At least one.
So the external pressure was unrelenting and deliberate. The FBI employed psychological operations designed to disrupt sleep and erode morale. Loudspeakers positioned around the perimeter broadcast a relentless mix of sounds: rock music, Tibetan chants, the screams of rabbits being slaughtered, and even Christmas carols at odd hours throughout the night.
Yeah,
Yes.
you heard that right.
True story. I've heard the audio from this, and they played rabbits being slaughtered.
Please don't play it for me. I don't.
That's
know.
weird.
Bright floodlights were trained on the building, turning darkness into a harsh, artificial glare that made rest nearly impossible. Electricity was cut off for extended periods, forcing reliance on generators and flashlights. The psychological toll was real and cumulative. Some residents described the noise as maddening, a constant assault that made it hard to think clearly. Others found the lights disorienting, blurring the lines between day and night until time itself felt fluid. Yet the group maintained its cohesion. They hung bedsheet banners for windows with messages like, "Let's have a beer when this is over," or simple scriptural quotes, small acts of dark humor and defiance that showed they were aware of the outside world and refused to let it break them.
Honestly, out of everybody, I feel sorry for the children that had to experience this.
I do too. And I personally feel this is one of the bigger mistakes the FBI did. Cutting,
Yeah.
like Kayde said, cutting electricity and water, standard procedure. You need to make life difficult, but you also need to make it so that they're not going to huddle together. When you started blaring the lights and the music and just the essentially, let's just call it what it was, the harassment. I mean, I know the idea was that it would just drive them all stir crazy, that they just run out, but they're not going to do that. They're going to stay where they're safe, and that's where their families and friends are, in that compound. You know, the food may last forever, but eventually the water's going to run out, and other things that make life bearable are going to run out pretty quickly. And that's all they had to really do. Just wait them out.
Yeah, because it's Texas. It doesn't rain a lot there.
No, it doesn't. The water would
Yeah.
have, like I said, the food probably would have lasted them a good while, since they did send people out and they had some people die. But water is going to run out pretty quick, and you have days before dehydration starts kicking in.
Honestly, with how much preparation and how much land these people had, I'm surprised they didn't have more water stockpiled.
I'm sure they didn't anticipate.
Well, I mean, they had a main well that they used,
but it's outside,
and they didn't anticipate it being blocked off.
True.
And
Still, I'd have a couple tanks of water just to be
Because
safe.
like for them, their thought was at the end times their entire compound would be the safe haven, not
Yeah.
just the main building.
yeah, so
And
So I mean, yeah, if it were me, I'd have a couple water buffaloes.
Yeah.
So in the military, the things that we dreaded seeing, they're called water buffaloes, and there's giant water tanks that have
fucking shit.
that smelled horrible. The water was, you could taste the metal in the water.
Ugh.
It was always hot because the sun would bake onto that metal and it would just heat up the water. So you'd put it in your canteen,
Yeah.
and you'd literally have to like keep your canteen open to air out the water to keep it cooler.
my unit has an ice machine.
Well, we can't all be guard.
Yeah.
Some of us.
You can't all be weekend
Don't
warriors.
finish that statement.
You can't all be weekend warriors.
Yeah.
I don't even want to do that.
Damn.
Little commo guys playing with their little radios, and they're playing with their little knobs.
So for those that don't know, it only takes 3 to 5 days to die from dehydration.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, and keep in mind,
You can last 2 weeks.
if it's David Koresh and maybe like 5 people in there, I'm sure they could have lasted a long time. But you've got like dozens of people all drawing from a very dwindling.
Well, you also got to keep in mind that, especially with like David Koresh, he's shot in the stomach.
Yeah, so he
So
Yeah.
he needs more water
Yeah,
and more
that's
medicine
true.
than everybody else.
and
And
again,
you know they're prioritizing him.
Oh, of course
yeah,
he's
well, they're prioritizing
prioritized.
all the wounded.
Mhm.
They're going to prioritize him over everybody else. He's God.
Yeah, or as close to they can.
Yeah.
But again, though, like as we just saw with the daily routine, half of what they do requires water.
Yeah.
At a certain point, a lot of that stuff is
Yeah.
going to be sacrificed.
Well, and-
like, okay, we can't do this, so
And I mean, you run out of gas, you're fucked because they've cut the power. So you're catching rainwater, which is not
you have
viable to drink. If you don't have the gas to run the generators to boil the water,
you're done.
you're done. You're
Yeah.
gonna drink that water, and then
You're gonna get sick.
you're gonna get sick, and you're gonna puke, become more dehydrated, drink more water, puke again, blah blah blah, and eventually you'll die.
And I guarantee you, these people did not have a connection to the city or county lines of sewage, though they probably have a septic tank.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know that 100%, but they probably have a septic tank, which means that at some point it's going to fill. Everything's going to back up.
Yeah.
And it'll start seeping through the ground,
Yeah.
and
Or
yeah.
into the building. Toilets will back up. Sinks will back up. So again, just got to wait them out. At some point, it'll be hot, smelly. There's nothing to drink. The food, again, I can tell you straight. All of us here, maybe not Elliot, but all of us know MREs suck, even in the best of conditions.
Yeah.
Imagine drinking and having an MRE with no water, nor nothing to drink.
and unreliable toilets.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't need to go
God.
to the bathroom because you're going to be backed up for days.
But eventually that dam is going to bust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
If you know about MREs and
Yeah. So,
yeah. So, internal communication happened through a system of quiet signals and handwritten notes passed hand to hand. Koresh would send short written messages to different rooms where he couldn't move easily, updating everyone on the latest phone negotiations or study topics. Watchers at the windows used hand signals to alert others to movement outside without raising their voices. The Davidians developed a simple code for urgent matters: 3 taps on a wall or a specific whistle pattern to coordinate without drawing extra attention from the loudspeakers. Timekeeping became a shared responsibility. Without reliable clocks or natural light, they relied on meal times and study sessions to mark the passage of days. One member kept a small notebook in which he recorded the date each morning based on a last known broadcast or a negotiator's comment. They used the changing pitch of the loudspeaker's music as a rough guide for shifts, knowing certain songs played at predictable intervals. This system helped everyone stay oriented even when the floodlights made night and day indistinguishable. The Davidians also found ways to mark small milestones. When a child learned a new Bible verse or an adult completed a window repair, the group acknowledged it quietly with a shared prayer or a piece of saved candy from the stores. These tiny celebrations helped maintain a sense of progress and community even as the siege lengthened. The intergenerational mix meant that stories from the movement's earlier decades were retold in the quiet hours, linking the current ordeal to the hilltop's long history and giving younger members a deeper sense of belonging. The wounded played a unique role in sustaining morale. Despite their injuries, they participated in conversations and offered encouragement to others. Their presence served as a reminder of the raid's cost, but also the group's resilience. The Davidians shared stories of how the wounded had survived the initial firefight, turning those accounts into testimonies of faith. The care given to them, changing bandages, offering what little pain relief was available, became a communal act of love and duty. The psychological operations had a cumulative effect that the Davidians learned to manage. The loud music and lights were discussed openly in studies, with Koresh framing them as tests rather than defeats. The group developed coping strategies such as rotating ear protection and using blankets to block light. The constant noise made sleep difficult, so rest was taken in short shifts, with someone always awake to monitor the situation. The Davidians noted the tactics in their internal conversations, sometimes with a touch of dark humor, but they refused to let the pressure break the resolve. The siege became a shared experience that strengthened their bonds as they supported one another through the long nights and uncertain days. As the weeks passed, the internal life of Mount Carmel became a world unto itself. Practical survival, rationing, maintenance, care for the wounded, interwoven with spiritual practices that gave the ordeal meaning. The Davidians maintained watch rotations, cared for one another with limited resources available, and continued their studies even as the external world pressed in. The siege tested every aspect of their commitment, revealing both the depth of their faith and the human limits of endurance. This was life inside the compound. A world of rationed meals and marathon scripture sessions, of children's laughter echoing down hallways and adults standing watch at windows, of quiet prayers offered in the dark and banners hung from windows as small acts of defiance and hope. The pressure from outside was relentless, yet the community inside held together through shared routines, mutual care, and an unshakable conviction that they were living in the final unfolding of prophecy. The hilltop had become a pressure cooker, but for those inside, it was also a place of profound purpose, a last stand of faith against the forces arrayed around them. All right. So
now we get the FBI's point of view.
Yeah, so we kind of gave you the inside, made you feel for the Davidians and what they're going through. Now we're going to jump out, and we are going to talk about the FBI.
It's going to see, to me, it was kind of very, very laughable that the Davidians seem to have their camp very much in order, very disciplined, and the FBI, didn't.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say, it really sounds like a lot of the government people don't know what the heck they're doing in these stories.
Welcome to the United States government.
Well,
Yeah.
it was like I said before, to me, the theme of the FBI and their handling of this was we got too many cooks in the kitchen. That was the problem. You have too many people, got too many ways of doing it. So
Yeah.
All right, so on March 1st, 1993, I wasn't even a year old yet.
insert I'm old jokes.
I was only 2.
Ben had a full head of hair then.
I was 5. Of course, I had a full head of hair.
What happened?
Shut the hell up. That's what happened.
It's okay. You're just taller than your hair.
Where did we hear that?
I don't know.
Psych.
Psych, yeah. Yeah, it was she said it to his dad.
Yeah, that's right.
So on March 1st, 1993, the FBI officially assumed command of the operation at Mount Carmel. Jeff Jamer, I believe is how it is, special agent in charge of the San Antonio field office, became site commander, while Richard Rogers led the hostage rescue team. The FBI brought in 25 trained negotiators.
Christ.
That's insane.
What the hell were they thinking?
Yeah, and established a dedicated negotiation command post away from tactical teams.
That's another problem.
Yeah. From the outset, 2 distinct philosophies clashed within the Bureau. The negotiators, drawing on standard crisis intervention training, favored patience, rapport building, and long conversations about scripture. Probably the right way to go.
In this case, yeah.
They viewed Koresh's religious rhetoric as central to any resolution. The HRT, by contrast, pushed for increasing tactical presence, arguing that delay only strengthened the Davidians' resolve and risked more lives. Not also wrong.
No.
This internal tension, negotiators versus tactical commanders, would define the next 50 days repeatedly undermine progress.
I mean, you're right. That you can't just parking up there and waiting is we have the benefit of hindsight.
Yeah.
We know what their supplies were. The FBI had maybe a rough idea, and they're making guesses.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, 25 negotiators. That's insane. And
You know how many are typical?
like what, 3 in this kind of situation? I would imagine maybe 3,
2.
5, 2.
2.
Oh, 2. Yeah.
So that they can rotate shifts.
Yeah.
It's typically 2. You have one that works the day shift, one that works the night shift, so they can rotate out.
I mean, what? This is just 25. What was that? Did these guys?
One for each day.
It's like, did these guys just see the per diem dollars and just everybody jumped on board?
Yeah, everybody wanted overtime.
Seriously.
Pretty much.
The negotiators began with phone lines open through intermediaries. The first calls were cautious and professional. Koresh and Steve Schneider, no relation to Rob, his chief spokesman, responded with extended discourses on the Seven Seals.
You can do it, little Nicky.
You can do it!
Why does Rob Schneider sound Puerto Rican every time you
And
do
we
that?
can do it all night long. I don't know. Maybe he's Puerto Rican in my mind.
Because the character's supposed to be Cajun.
I know. I don't know. And Rob Schneider's very much like, I believe he's like Filipino
I don't know.
or something like that. Negotiators logged 949 separate conversations, totaling more than 215 hours.
God.
I don't know.
God.
Well, again, you're dealing with somebody who preaches essentially
Yeah.
for a living, so
So many calls stretched for hours as Koresh explained biblical passages in minute detail, connecting current events to ancient prophecy.
bad at this.
I'd kill myself.
And Rob Schneider is Filipino, like you said, and then Jewish.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Filipino Jew.
That is I mean,
Yeah.
I knew he was short like a Filipino, but I didn't think he was actually part Filipino.
Yeah.
Maternal grandmother was Filipina, and his father was Ashkenazi Jewish descent with roots in Poland and Russia.
Okay.
The negotiators listened, asked clarifying questions, and tried to steer the dialogue toward practical steps, such as additional releases or a surrender timeline. They consulted outside experts, including biblical scholar Philip Arnold and James Tabor, who analyzed transcripts of Koresh's earlier radio broadcast and suggested ways to engage him on his own theological terms. This part I'd be good at. I can have a theology debate with anybody. On March 16th, still not a year old yet, the FBI considered allowing Arnold to speak directly with Koresh, but ultimately declined, fearing it would legitimize his claims.
That was probably a very smart thing they did.
Yes, it was.
This is, for all intents and purposes, this is still a tactical This is like a hostage / standoff situation. You do not be out including academics. They have no place here.
Koresh repeatedly promised to come out once he finished writing his interpretation of the Seven Seals. He described the manuscript as the key that would unlock the final mysteries and allow him to surrender peacefully. Negotiators pressed for a firm deadline, but Koresh always framed the timeline as dependent on divine instruction. On March 2nd, after the first radio broadcast of his message, he appeared to move toward compliance, but then informed negotiators that God had told him to wait. The pattern repeated. He would engage in lengthy Bible studies during calls and cite new revelations or the need for more time. Passover observance from April 5th to April 13th brought complete radio silence from the compound, further frustrating the negotiators who saw it as another deliberate delay. They get a religious holiday.
I guess. This is what always shocked me, that for essentially 8 days, nothing. I'm surprised
I would have just moved in then.
That's what I've been like.
Yeah.
I would have moved in. If I'm getting nothing and I know it's Passover and they're probably their guards a little more down because they're focused on eating and scripture and all of that, I'm fucking going in.
Again, that's 8. Shit, you need to. HRT could probably come up with something in 2 days.
Literally, thump, 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 bunch of smoke grenades,
Just
flashbangs, get in there,
yeah.
boom.
I mean, the bad thing is though, if you've seen maps of the compound, it's completely different now. But if you look at like panoramic views of the land, it's just Texas prairie scrub. There's no trees. There's no nothing. So there's no tactical surprise even at night. You know, they'll see unless it's a moonless night. But yeah, 8 days they just sat there and didn't talk, didn't do anything. I'm just like I said, I'm shocked that HRT and be like, yeah, screw it, we're done. Let's get out of here before the playoffs start.
Hold on 1 second. I am going to put up a picture.
I mean, I should also point out that, which was really unique to the situation, was that as the siege is going on, the press, believe it or not, are actually hounding the FBI to actually like bring this thing to an end and actually like in so many ways like storm the compound.
So here, for those of you that are actually watching us, and if you want to see this, you can go to YouTube and watch this. This is the Branch Davidian compound.
Or what it was.
Yeah.
Nothing there now.
Yeah, obviously it's gone now because it burnt down, but you can see it's a pretty sizable place.
Yeah, and it's again, there's no trees, there's no real bushes, there's nothing. These people have a complete 360 view of everything around them. They can see anything and anyone coming at them.
Yeah.
What was that over to the left? Was that construction or was that like trenches?
I think that might have been like a building extension. I think
they were expanding their buildings.
Oh, okay.
So they were just because they owned this entire thing of land. So they were just expanding and expanding and expanding.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they had like 90 acres. So
yeah,
they had a ton of property.
On April 14th, Koresh sent a letter to his attorney, Dick DeGurin, in which he promised to exit once he completed his manuscript on the Seven Seals, briefly reviving hopes. The letter asked that scholars like Arnold and Tabor receive copies first so their work could be properly understood. The FBI split on how to interpret it. Some saw genuine progress, others viewed it as another delay tactic.
Even money who thought it was a delay tactic.
HRT team.
Yeah.
The FBI's tactical side grew impatient with these delays. Rogers and the HRT began implementing psychological operations to increase pressure. Loudspeakers were positioned around the perimeter and began broadcasting a rotating selection of sounds designed to prevent sleep and create disorientation. Rock music, Tibetan chants, the recorded screams of rabbits being slaughtered, even Christmas carols played at irregular intervals through the night. They just played Mariah Carey.
Oh my God!
That wasn't out yet.
Oh.
I believe that was 97.
Oh, these people were lucky then.
I believe that was 97.
That god awful song. Honestly, if I hold a hostage and they just start playing that, I'd be like, you don't even have to get to the word. I'm just like, I get stop.
I
right.
know what we would be able to get Ben with.
Oh, sorry. It was released in 94.
Okay, still not
enough time.
Oh, I'm a gummy bear.
Oh my God, I loved that song.
Ben hates it.
Or Baby Shark.
Baby
I
Shark.
also loved Crazy Frog.
Yes.
Never heard of that. Don't bloody play
And the
it.
instrument.
We'll play it later.
Okay, sounds good.
So bright floodlights were trained on the building, turning night into unrelenting glare. Electricity was cut off for extended periods, forcing the Davidians to rely on generators and flashlights. Armored vehicles, including M3 Bradleys and M728 combat engineer vehicles, moved closer to the compound. They had fucking Bradleys.
Yeah,
dude.
from what I read, all they would do is just weird intervals. They would just circle it. And I think we do mention in here they also like just destroyed everything around the property.
You mean what's coming up in like the next two sentences?
Yeah.
I was hoping we had images of them surrounding it, but
I don't think
we
they
don't.
do.
We'll show it later once we get to everything on fire. I'll put up a picture of it on
Stupid
fire.
Apple for not inventing iPhones early enough so
God.
you could have phone videos.
They crushed cars parked outside, demolished perimeter fencing, and destroyed outbuildings in a visible show of force. That's kind of what Bradleys are made to do.
Yeah. They made a big show of, I guess David, if I remember, he had like a really fancy car. Like it was like a beautiful classic. Destroyed.
For those that aren't familiar, this is a Bradley.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yes.
It's,
so they had multiples of those.
Normally, this is a vehicle for the cavalry because it's fast moving and has that little gun is actually like a chain gun. It's not 50 caliber, but in my opinion, it's actually better than 50.
If they have literal like tanks like that, why haven't they moved in? I get they want to kill the least amount of people as possible.
That's
but...
a great question.
Yeah.
I think it's mainly because of the children.
So, and also,
Yeah.
this is what else they had. This is the other vehicle that they had. This is the combat engineer vehicle. So it's got a plow on the front, and it's meant to just like plow away things. It's got short barrel guns because it wasn't made to shoot long range. It basically made to get your combat engineers into like anywhere that they need to repair while still protecting them.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a vehicle.
I completely agree. They have those vehicles, multiple of them. They could have just gone in there and just I mean, as worst case scenario, they could have just blown the place to pieces.
Yeah, I mean, they did. Obviously, nobody wants to kill these people. I mean, realistically, David Koresh is the one they're after.
Yeah,
and maybe like a couple other people who mainly handled the guns, but everybody else is just they're stuck in there. That's why they treat it as like, oh, they're hostages. It's like, they're not really hostages.
You're barricaded them in.
Yeah.
So the vehicles would advance, withdraw, and advance again, sometimes running over the same ground multiple times. Talk about messing with your sewage.
Yeah, I bet you any money
running right over the sewage lines.
There was just some Texas National Guard guy driving. It's like, what am I supposed to do? Listen, you're getting paid
to just drive around.
SAD orders to drive around this compound with Bradley. Don't question it.
Yeah. Negotiators protested that these actions undermine their efforts, but the tactical commanders argued that only sustained pressure would force compliance.
I still don't understand how a bunch of tanks and stuff driving around is going to be like, I got to get out of here, man. Yeah. I mean, most of everything they're doing would make me want to go into the basement and hide. I mean, realistically, there is no incentive for anybody to come out.
You know what I would have done? I would have gotten probably 1,000 to 2,000 rats. Release them in the building. You talk about getting them out quick? Boom. Unless he starts preaching to them. And then we have Christian rats. We have Davidian rats.
I mean, realistically, they had the answer initially. Just cut the water, cut the electricity, and just
starve them out.
Starve them out. Wait. Eventually, it will sort itself out. All the people who really don't want to be there.
The cold will get you, because keep in mind this is Texas in February. Believe it or not, it gets cold.
Yeah. So you.
It does snow in Texas.
Especially northern Texas?
Yes.
Absolutely.
We've seen it.
And I believe Waco is not that far from the Oklahoma border. And
no.
Oklahoma definitely gets snow.
Internal debates intensified. Lead negotiator Gary Nosner eventually left the scene in frustration, believing the aggressive tactics were counterproductive and risked pushing the Davidians toward mass suicide.
I doubt they would have ever killed themselves. I mean, say what you will about everything, but this is still a Christian cult. It's still a Christian organization, and suicide is generally.
So was Jim Jones.
But I don't know.
Jim Jones was a Christian organization.
It started there, but then it became a Jim Jones organization. If that makes any sense,
but not according to the people, like his people.
I just genuinely feel that if David Koresh had told these people to go line up and take a gun and kill himself, I think most
they would have done it.
Would not have done it.
No, I think they would have. They had so much faith and belief in this man that they would have done it.
I was going to say they're letting them rape their 14-year-old, 12-year-old daughters.
They also
nuts.
Are staying here.
Yeah.
But again, though, there's stay with your family where you know nobody's going to harm you.
Yeah, but most of their kids are gone. Plus, keep in mind that most of these families are broken because David's fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the men have no women. They have no wives anymore. They don't. There's no kids except for his kids that are young.
Yeah.
The women are getting married and bearing children at 14 years old. Kind of sounds
If
pretty
they can do
reasonable.
that, then they'll
Those are all very good
drink the
points.
Kool-Aid for him.
Yeah, those are all
Yeah.
very good points. I think this is just my gut. I have no evidence
Yeah.
to suggest this. It's just my gut. I'm like,
So other negotiators echoed his concerns in memos, warning that the HRT's approach reinforced Koresh's end-time narrative. Meanwhile, tactical commanders cited the mounting financial costs estimated at $1 million per week in 93.
which would be about
It's be about 4 to 5 million now. And the deteriorating sanitary conditions inside the compound as reasons to escalate.
Actually, that would be a reason to keep it going.
Yeah.
Again, at some point, they're all just going to get frustrated.
Or get sick, and then you can go in.
Yeah.
They also cited unverified reports of child abuse that had circulated since before the raid, arguing that the children still inside were at risk.
Oh God.
Attorney General Janet Reno. She's never done anything wrong.
No.
Only weeks into her new role, received regular briefings. She plays a big part in this.
Yeah.
She weighed the negotiators' calls for patience against the HRT's recommendation for stronger action. Reno expressed concern about the welfare of any children remaining inside and the potential for a Jonestown-style outcome if the standoff dragged on indefinitely. She discussed options directly with President Clinton, who at one point suggested that Monica Lewinsky get under a desk and suck off Koresh and it'll all be fine. Oh, I'm sorry. Suggested a simple blockage similar to the 1985 CSA siege on Arkansas.
So, for those wondering, CSA stands for the Covenant, the Sword, and the Arm of the Lord. It's another.
I believe we touched on them, but we haven't done a full episode.
We will touch on them in Oklahoma, I believe.
I haven't seen anything about them in Oklahoma yet.
But they are their own topic.
Yeah, they are going to be their own topic. They're kind of like in the style of, they kind of fit in here. They happened before any of them, and there's they do have a very tentative connection to Oklahoma City. But in this case, they did the same thing. They just blocked, from what I understood, they just blocked them off, and then eventually they just gave up.
So Reno ultimately sided with the tactical commanders, citing the exhaustion of HRT personnel, the ongoing costs, and the belief that further negotiation would yield no results. On April 17th, she approved a plan to insert CS tear gas using armored vehicles.
I just what I never understood. The HRT, they're exhausted. From what? What are they doing? Everybody's just sitting around.
Hey, driving is exhausting. The roots of these negotiation tactics lie in the FBI's evolving crisis management doctrine following earlier incidents such as Ruby Ridge. The Bureau had learned the importance of patience in some cases, yet the presence of the HRT, trained for rapid, decisive action, created an inherent tension that played out at Mount Carmel. Negotiators tried to apply lessons from successful standoffs by engaging Koresh in his own theological ground and arranging small concessions such as the radio broadcast. The HRT, however, operated from a different playbook, using visible force and sensory overload to compel surrender. The clash between these approaches turned what might have been a contained negotiation into a protracted war of attrition.
I mean,
it's kind of like having an athlete and a nerd try to compete for the same end goal.
Yeah.
The end goal is the same. You need to get to the other side of the field and get through all of the defenders on the field. Let's take football for analysis. So you take a football player and a chess player, right? So the goal is to get from one 1 yard line to the other, get to the other end zone. Well, the football player, he's going to do what he does. He's going to run through the opposition. He's going to do the plays that he knows what to do. He's going to pound it in and get to the end zone. Chess player plays from a different rule book. They think. They move differently. They're going to try to outmaneuver and outposition their opponents. And so it's kind of the same thing. The HRT or the football players are just trying to pound it, get it done, get this over with. They're used to hitting fast and hard. And the negotiators are the chess players. There's negotiators that have sat there for months.
Yeah, weeks.
And they'll sit there and wait. It's that analogy.
I mean, and usually when you have these two differing types of, starting points, it can be managed. You have the brawn with the brain. But now I'll even go another step with that football analogy. Imagine if the coach and the assistant coach are working at opposite ends of the field, and they're not talking to another. They can't talk to another because they're so far away from each other.
Yeah.
They can't coordinate what they're doing. One coach is trying to do this play, and the assistant coach is trying to do another play. You're going to have a mess. Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. I don't understand.
I don't get involving Janet Reno.
Janet Reno technically is the attorney general. She's the one in charge, but
she's not there.
No, she's not. But also
she needed to bring her lazy ass down there, and see the situation first.
Well, absolutely, but even then,
But we know how Janet Reno is now.
Yeah, I mean, this was becoming very political. I mean, literally, you have what is perception in the media is an anti-government militia that is thumbing their noses at the federal government, and the government is not doing anything except driving a tank around the perimeter and playing Christmas carols at weird times of the night. Bill's getting involved too.
I mean, Bill's got to push Monica away to try and deal with this.
Exactly. Zip up your big boy pants and get some shit done.
Monica, get off! I've got to actually do something right now.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of pressure coming.
My wife's coming.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure coming from the top, but it just seemed like, I can imagine it's like the negotiators and the HRT just had such a falling out, and it's just a failure of leadership. They just like, you know what, I'm going to go over here, and we're going to stay over here, and we're not going to talk to you. It's like,
yeah,
what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
So Koresh's responses during the calls revealed a man who saw the siege as the literal fulfillment of prophecy. He would shift from calm exegesis, I hate that word, to sudden declarations of divine instruction, always framing the next delay as necessary for the unfolding of the seals. Negotiators documented these shifts in logs, noting how Koresh could hold the line for hours on a single biblical point. Schneider, acting as an intermediary, sometimes tried to soften Koresh's positions, but he too was bound by the group's shared belief system. The FBI's decision to consult Arnold and Tabor showed an attempt to meet Koresh on his terms, yet the refusal to allow direct dialogue limited its effectiveness.
Again, I feel like that was the best decision, because all that would have happened is that Arnold and Tabor would have just been holding up the line, having debate after debate with Koresh about scripture and theology, when, we need to get kids out. We need to bring about the end of this standoff.
Yeah.
And I mean, realistically, this is probably the best thing that ever happened to Koresh. He's got the spotlight, he's preaching, he's doing everything. I mean, why would he want this to end?
Yeah. By the final weeks, the negotiation process had become largely performative. The FBI continued to log calls and propose small steps, but the tactical momentum had taken over. Reno's approval of the tear gas plan on April 17th reflected the accumulated frustrations of 7 weeks of stalled talks, internal division, and mounting external pressure. The roots of the breakdown lay not in a single moment, but in the fundamental mismatch between the Davidians' apocalyptic worldview and the FBI's dual-track system of negotiation and force. What began as cautious phone conversations had evolved into a high-stakes contest of wills, with each side convinced its approach was the only path to resolution. The escalating tactics, loudspeakers, lights, power cuts, and armored vehicles were intended to break the impasse, but they instead hardened positions on both sides. The negotiation phase of the Waco siege stands as a case study in the limits of crisis communication when belief, bureaucracy, and tactical pressure collide. On the evening of April 18th, 1993, hey, I was finally a year old.
I was still 2.
Elliot wasn't born yet.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel, Ben?
I don't want to talk about it.
Attorney General Janet Reno gave final approval for the FBI's plan to end the standoff. The operation was scheduled to begin at 6 a.m. the next morning. The strategy called for the insertion of CS tear gas using armored vehicles equipped with long booms and Mark V liquid dispensers. The goal was to force the occupants out of the building without gunfire by creating an environment that would make remaining inside untenable. At approximately 5:55 a.m. on April 19th, the FBI used loudspeakers to broadcast a final warning to those inside Mount Carmel. The message was clear and repeated: surrender peacefully and come out. No one emerged. At 6:02 a.m., the first Combat Engineering Vehicle, or CEV, a modified M60 tank with a 30-foot boom, advanced toward the front of the building. It punched a hole in the wall and began pumping CS gas through the Mark V system. Almost immediately, a second CEV moved to the rear and right side, repeating the process. Bradley fighting vehicles joined in, firing 40-millimeter Ferret CS rounds through windows on multiple sides. The gas was a fine powder suspended in a liquid carrier designed to irritate eyes, skin, and respiratory systems. Within minutes, reports of gunfire came from inside the compound. Agents on the ground and in observation posts noted muzzle flashes and heard the distinct crack of rifles. The Davidians returned fire as the vehicles continued their slow, deliberate advance, widening holes and delivering more gas. And I will tell you, if you have never been exposed to CS gas, it fucking sucks.
Yes.
Anybody in basic training has to go through the gas chamber.
Oh, God.
My unit actually just did it, not this last drill, and apparently we're doing it again. But one of my guys is like, "I'm going to do it again." And I'm just like, "There's something wrong."
One of the worst parts is, especially, I think the guys had it worse than the girls did in CS gas, because they, at least my instructors, made a shave the night before.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know about our brother playing.
They made a shave the night before, so your pores are nice and open. So you go in there, you take off your mask, and that CS gas gets right in the pores of your skin.
They
and-
didn't see me take a breath, so I had to do the whole thing again, just so then they could see me take a breath before I did my reporting statement.
That's okay. Be glad we're not in the Navy, because the Navy has to do their entire song. They have to sing their entire song. One of the nurses I work with, he had to do the entire song. Imagine having to do the Air Force fight song with that. We just had to do the reporting statement.
Oh.
Yeah, I got like maybe 3 sentences. And I was just like,
I was like, sir, training, and then that was it. And then I went as ordered, and they were like, okay, go.
But if you're sick and you have like a head cold or something,
You'll be clear.
You'll be cleared out for like weeks.
Because it gets worse when you go outside and the air hits you.
Oh, God.
You get that fresh air, it hits you, and your nose is running, you're drooling, your eyes are watering, and then they basically make you walk around for like a minute, and then you go over to the water and you like dunk your face in the water, and oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. And they're just sitting there laughing.
Yep.
So yeah, it sucks. The insertion continued for more than 6 hours. Guys, we did that for 2 minutes. They dealt with this for 6 hours. The CEVs made repeated passes, enlarging openings in the wall, injecting additional CS. By mid-morning, the building was filled with the irritant. The Davidians, many wearing gas masks with filters that the FBI believed would last up to 48 hours, remained inside. Listening devices picked up movement and voices, but no mass exodus. The tactical teams maintained their positions, monitoring for any signs that the occupants were preparing to leave. At no point during the phase did the FBI fire live ammunition into the structure. The only projectiles were the CS rounds and the gas itself. And that is important to note, because the Branch Davidians claimed
that they were returning fire when they opened fire on the vehicles, and there was no live fire.
Yeah,
It was recorded. There's audio recording.
Yeah, in all likelihood, somebody panic fired because
which didn't affect anybody because those are all bulletproof.
Yeah, so
their little rounds aren't touching it.
Somebody panic fires and everyone starts firing. Why? Because they probably in their head thinking like, "Oh, they're firing at us." That's why Mikey started firing. So they must have been firing. And
give it to Mikey; he'll eat anything.
This is, in my opinion, this is the biggest mistake. I mean, if you're gonna pumping CS gas in there, that's fine. It's how you do it. You gotta get them out. It's an irritant. It'll make people you can't shoot, you can't see, or not effectively. You rip the holes in the wall, so you've created your own tactical entry point. You don't have to rely on the doors, which I'm sure the Branch Davidians had already prepared defensive fighting positions to defend them. Go in. Yeah. HRT has been bitching and complaining this whole time. Oh, we can't do anything. We can't do anything.
And,
go in.
And I'll tell you right now, they may have gas masks, but unless you've trained in gas masks,
they don't do anything.
I mean, they'll protect you from the CS gas, but they limit your vision.
Yeah.
And it's hard to breathe if you're not used to it and you're not used to operating. It's hard to use.
We have to fire. Air Force and Army has to fire with your gas mask, and it is damn near impossible.
It sucks because you also got to remember that the lenses of the gas mask are rounded.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to shoot, everything's like convexed. It's really weird.
Yes.
You can't like aim like this because of the gas mask. You've got these filters on.
You almost have to keep it away from your face.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even really help much because the point is though, you have a bunch of people who are definitely not trained to do this are now having guns.
Yeah.
HRT has been bitching and complaining, went all the way up to the chain of command to the boss, probably bypassed the director and everything, and said, we need to resolve the situation. Janet Reno says, okay, go do it. Go do it. It's like, guys, you still expecting these people to run out? They didn't run out before. You think they're going to run out now?
Yeah.
When you're actually doing something toward them? They should have been hot on the heels of those tanks when they busted through and pumped CS gas in there and started dropping people with guns and arresting people. That's what they should have done. They're still just sitting around doing nothing at this point.
So around noon, 3 fires broke out almost simultaneously in different parts of the building. Infrared aerial video known as FLIR, which is forward-looking infrared. It's what like our helicopters use for law enforcement when they're trying to find somebody. It captured first visible flames at 12:07 p.m. on the second floor near the front. A second ignition point appeared shortly afterward on the far right side of the front, and a third on the back side. Eyewitnesses on the ground, including FBI agents and Texas Rangers, reported seeing smoke and flames erupt from multiple locations within seconds of each other. The fire spread rapidly through the wooden structure, fueled by hay bales stacked inside for insulation, kerosene, and other flammable liquids stored there, and the dry conditions after weeks without rain. Winds gusting up to 30 miles per hour accelerated the spread, turning the compound into an inferno within minutes.
That wasn't a compound. That's a freaking tinderbox.
Yeah.
So if we look here, again, for those that are choosing to watch us, this is what everybody saw.
Yeah. That was pretty quickly after it started. And this is the downside of a prolonged siege because the Davidians started getting stupid with their supplies and where they stored them. So mistakes were made.
Yeah. So 9 Davidians managed to escape the flames. They emerged from windows or doors on the side and rear, some with clothing on fire, and were immediately taken into custody by agents and rangers. The rest remained inside. Autopsies later conducted by the medical examiner's office determined that 76 people died on April 19th. Many succumbed to smoke inhalation. Others died from gunshot wounds, some self-inflicted, some inflicted by others in the final moments. David Koresh was found with a gunshot wound to the forehead. Approximately 25 children were among the dead, many found in a concrete bunker area in the center of the building where adults had apparently tried to shelter them. The fire consumed the structure so completely that identification of some of the remains required dental records and DNA. Firefighting efforts were delayed due to concerns about ongoing gunfire. When firefighters finally approached, the building was already engulfed. The flames reached temperatures high enough to melt metal and consume wooden beams in minutes. By early afternoon, what remained of Mount Carmel was a smoldering ruin of twisted steel and charred timber. The 9 survivors who escaped were immediately taken into custody and treated for burns and smoke inhalation. They provided statements describing the chaos inside as smoke filled the rooms and flames raced across the hallways. Some reported hearing gunshots in the final moments, but the precise sequence and source of those shots remained part of the ongoing debates. The assault phase itself had been executed with military precision. The CEVs advanced slowly, their booms extending like mechanical arms to deliver the gas directly into the interior spaces. The Bradley vehicles provided covering fire with non-lethal rounds, targeting windows on all sides. Agents on the ground maintained positions behind cover, ready to respond if the Davidians attempted a mass breakout. The operation was designed to minimize casualties, yet the response from inside turned it into a deadly confrontation. The fires that followed changed everything. The rapid spread left little time for escape, and the concrete bunker where many sought shelter became a trap as smoke and heat overwhelmed those inside. The official investigation, including the Justice Department report and the later Danforth Special Counsel review, concluded that persons inside the compound deliberately set the fires. Audio surveillance recordings captured conversation which individuals discussed pouring fuel on piles of hay as the gassing continued. FLIR footage showed 3 distinct ignition points appearing in quick succession, consistent with arson rather than a single accident source.
That is the stupidest thing you could have ever done.
Yeah. Fire experts hired by the government analyzed the spread pattern and determined that accelerants had been used in multiple locations. The report noted that the CS gas itself was not pyrotechnic and had been fully dissipated by the time the fires had started. The solvents in the delivery system had evaporated nearly an hour earlier. That saying this was not the fault of the FBI.
No,
because there were claims when all of it first happened that when they popped the gas, it set fire, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I think there was one conspiracy where they tried to set like the canister of the CS gas that was had used like a flashbang.
Yeah.
To ignite it. No, it didn't. I mean, it's just.
Yeah. Disputes over the events of April 19th have persisted. Some critics, including filmmakers and independent analysts, pointed to flashes visible on the FLIR tape as evidence of gunfire from FBI positions. It's not true. When you fire those, guess what they're fired with? Gunpowder to project stuff. Remember, the tanks were firing projectiles in.
Yeah.
They argued that federal agents fired into the building during the fire, possibly for preventing escapes or contributing to the deaths. Subsequent government-funded reenactments and scientific reviews, including a 2000 FLIR test at Fort Hood using identical equipment, concluded that the flashes were solar reflections of debris or broken glass, not muzzle blasts. No FBI agent who participated in the operation has ever claimed to have fired a weapon on April 19th after the initial gas insertion phase began. The Danforth report and congressional hearings found no evidence that the FBI started the fire or discharged weapons during the blaze, and I will say that is good on them.
Yeah. I believe there was one thing that they showed. It was a video. I've actually seen it where it's strange. I don't know if anyone's ever figured it out. They said one of the tanks with the booms on them was actually a flamethrower, and when it went in, it was like shooting like a flame into the thing. And there's like a flash of it looks like it does look weird, like something's coming out of the boom. but it's like,
Yeah, no.
it didn't do that.
It wouldn't have had ignition points like it did.
Yeah.
So the official findings on the cause of the fire rested on multiple lines of evidence. Audio recordings captured specific conversations about spreading fuel and igniting hay just before the flames appeared. The FLIR footage taken from an overhead aircraft showed 3 separate points of ignition appearing within seconds of each other. Behavior inconsistent with a single accidental source. Fire investigators who examined the ruins found 4 patterns and residue consistent with the use of accelerants. Found poor patterns, sorry. The Justice Department report and Danforth Special Counsel both reached the same conclusion. The fires were deliberately set by the persons inside the compound. The CS gas, while irritating, was not the cause. Solvent had dissipated long before the flames had started. No evidence supported claims that the FBI used pyrotechnic devices or fired shots that started the blaze.
I felt it was important to re-emphasize
Yes.
that because so many conspiracies came from this, and unfortunately still persists to this day. There's a lot of criticism that could be made against this. Let's not go inventing new things that have no foundation in reality, so that they may take away from the legitimate criticisms of the handling of this. And again, this is the problem with a prolonged siege, because again, you gave these people enough time. They came up with the good idea. Ferry showed up, and this just bit them in the ass. Like, let's put a bunch of hay and fuel drums and accelerant and light it on fire inside of a wooden building so that it'll block the entrance of tactical teams. It's like, did you not think about that? Like, you got to be really stupid to think that that's going to work, or you're going to walk away from that.
Yeah. So we're about to talk about like the aftermath and everything.
So some of it is going to be repeated.
Yeah. So,
I'm sorry about that.
but this is what it looks like now.
No, really, that's it. I thought the whole place had been developed.
So
No.
this is from the ground view. So there's like a memorial there and all of that. The single building stands there. But that is what it looks like today. So the fire on April 19th left behind a smoldering pile of twisted steel, charred timber, and concrete that had once been Mount Carmel. By early afternoon, the ruins were still too hot for immediate entry. Firefighters waited at a distance while FBI and Texas Ranger teams secured the perimeter and began the grim task of recovery.
As
Firefighters are second responders.
Yes, they are not going to go in there where there's a chance they're going to get shot at.
Yeah, because they're pussies. Over the next several days, investigators sifted through the debris, cataloging every piece of evidence. Melted weapon, fragments of clothing, the remains of 76 people. Dental records, DNA, and medical histories were required to identify many of the victims because the intense heat had destroyed most soft tissue and personal effects. The concrete bunker in the center of the building, where adults had tried to shelter children, yielded some of the most difficult recoveries. The site was treated as a major crime scene, with every item photographed, mapped, and logged before removal.
I do not wish that scene upon anybody.
Yeah.
No, this is
The first official accounting came quickly. On July 28th, 1993, the Department of Treasury released its report on the ATF's role in the initial raid. It criticized poor planning, inadequate intelligence, and the decision to proceed despite the loss of the element of surprise. The report noted tactical errors but concluded that the ATF had not initiated the gunfire and that the warrants were legally justified. A parallel Justice Department report released on October 8th, 1993, examined the FBI's conduct during the 51-day standoff and the final assault. It acknowledged communication problems between negotiators and tactical commanders, questioned some of the psychological operations employed, and expressed regret over the loss of life. Yet it found no evidence that the FBI had started the fire or fired shots into the building after the gas insertion phase began. Both reports emphasized that the Davidians had set the fires themselves, citing audio recordings of conversations about spreading fuel and igniting hay. Congressional scrutiny followed. The House Judiciary Committee and the House Appropriations Committee held joint hearings in 93 and again in 95. Law enforcement officials, survivors, and outside experts testified over several days. Sorry. The hearings produced thousands of pages of transcripts and exhibits. Members from both parties pressed for answers on the use of CS gas, the role of armored vehicles, and the decision-making process that led to the final operation. While the hearings highlighted serious operational shortcomings, they ultimately supported the core findings of the Treasury and Justice reports. The government had not deliberately started the fire or engaged in a shootout on April 19th. In 1999, Senator John Danforth, which is where we get the Danforth report, was appointed special counsel to conduct an independent review of all remaining allegations of government misconduct. His team examined more than 1 million pages of documents, conducted new interviews, and commissioned independent scientific tests. In 2000, the Danforth report delivered its conclusions. It found no evidence that the FBI had started the fire, used pyrotechnic devices, or fired shots on April 19th after the gas insertions began. The report confirmed that the 3 ignition points visible on FLIR footage were consistent with deliberate arson from inside the compound. It also addressed claims about the use of CS gas, noting that the irritant itself was not flammable and that its solvent had dissipated long before the fire started. The Danforth investigation closed the book on the most serious conspiracy allegations while acknowledging that the government had made mistakes in planning and communication. The legal consequences for the survivors unfolded in federal court. In 1994, 11 surviving Branch Davidians stood trial in San Antonio on charges ranging from murder of federal officers to conspiracy and illegal weapons possession. The jury acquitted all defendants of the murder charges, finding that the initial gunfire on February 28th had been a mutual exchange rather than a premeditated ambush. Several were convicted on lesser firearms offenses and served sentences ranging from 3 to 15 years. The trials produced extensive testimony about life inside the compound and the events of both February 28th and April 19th. The acquittals on the most serious counts were widely seen as a rejection of the government's portrayal of the Davidians as a criminal enterprise bent on violence. The culture and political legacy of Waco extended far beyond the courtroom. The events became a rallying point for militia and anti-government groups across the country. Timothy McVeigh visited the ruins in the weeks after the fire. He later cited Waco as a primary motivation for the Oklahoma City bombing on April 19th, 1995, the second anniversary of the fire. McVeigh sold bumper stickers near the perimeter during the siege and kept clippings about the standoff in his car at the time of his arrest. And again, we will get into that.
Because it was a lot more than just bumper stickers.
Yeah, we'll get into that in our next episode. The imagery of tanks rolling toward a religious community combined with the loss of so many lives resonated deeply with those who already distrusted federal authority. Ruby Ridge, which had occurred the previous year, was frequently linked to Waco in public discourse, creating a narrative of repeated government overreach. Surviving Davidians offered their own perspectives in interviews, books, and public appearances in the years that followed. Some, like Clive Doyle and Grammy Craddock, described the fire as a tragic but inevitable fulfillment of prophecy. Others distanced themselves from Koresh's leadership while maintaining their commitment to the Branch Davidian theology. A small number of survivors rebuilt a modest community on property near the original site, continuing quiet Bible studies and memorial services each April 19th. That is that building that we see. They emphasized that the group had not been a cult, but a Bible-based movement that had been misunderstood and ultimately destroyed by force.
All I think of when I hear that is, was it King of the Hill? Hank's like, excuse me, are y'all with the cult? We're not a cult. We're an organization that believes in, this is the place.
The physical site itself became a place of pilgrimage and reflection. The ruins were cleared, and a simple memorial now stands with the names of all who died. Visitors leave flowers, notes, and small mementos. Annual gatherings on the anniversary draw survivors, researchers, and those interested in the broader issues of religious liberty and government power. The events continue to be examined in documentaries and academic studies and public forums, serving as a cautionary tale about the dangers of escalation and the importance of dialogue across deep ideological divides. The hilltop outside Waco is quiet now, but the events of 1993 continue to echo. They stand as a reminder of the human cost when belief and bureaucracy collide, and as a call to approach such conflicts with wisdom, restraint, and a willingness to listen. The legacy is not only one of loss, but also of enduring need for accountability, understanding, and the careful exercise of power in a diverse society. So, we've reached the end of our 2-episode journey through the Waco story, and it lands heavily. From the quiet hilltop roots of the Branch Davidians in episode 1 to the 51 days of the siege, negotiation breakdowns, and the devastating fire of April 19th in episode 2, we've seen how sincere faith, charismatic leadership, institutional suspicion, and tactical decisions collided in ways no one could have predicted. What strikes us most as hosts is how avoidable so much of this tragedy feels in hindsight. The Davidians weren't cartoon villains. They were people living out what they believed were the final chapters of prophecy. The agents and the negotiators weren't heartless stormtroopers. They were trying to enforce the law and protect lives in a situation that kept slipping out of control. Yet miscalculations on both sides, failed communication, escalating pressure, missed opportunities for dialogue, turned a warrant service into a national catastrophe that still echoes today. The official investigations cleared the government of deliberately starting the fire or firing on April 19th, but they also laid bare serious flaws in planning, coordination, and judgment. The survivors' voices, the congressional hearings, and the cultural ripple effects remind us that the human cost was real and lasting. Waco became a rallying cry for those who already distrusted federal power, influenced everything from militia movements to the Oklahoma City bombing, and left us with uncomfortable questions that refuse to fade. As hosts at Scarlet Tavern, we keep coming back to the same question. How do we, as a society, handle significant differences in beliefs and authority without letting them erupt into violence? When does patience cross into complicity? And when does pressure become provocation? These aren't easy questions, and there are no simple answers, but they're worth wrestling with. We'd love to hear from you. What stayed with you from these 2 episodes? Do you see echoes of Waco in today's conversations about government power, religious freedom, or crisis response? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your perspectives help us keep these stories alive in meaningful ways. And let me ask you guys this. Do you see echoes of Waco in today's conversations about government power, religious freedom, or crisis response?
Yeah.
A little. I don't think we'll ever really have another Waco style now. And that's only because the lessons we learned from the actual Waco. Long sieges lead to mistakes, and they lead to mishaps. I mean, again, we said before, I know you had to step away, Elliot. These people put bales of hay at key points of entry with kerosene and other fuel. And then the goal was to light them on fire. This isn't a wooden building, mind you, to block access.
With children in a concrete bunker.
Yeah.
I mean, so my thoughts on this is, Ben, you were saying that this isn't that this wasn't like Jim Jones, but think about this ending. Is this really any different than drinking the Kool-Aid?
I think this smacks of everybody is sitting around. They know that the FBI is going to bust in here one way or the other. They can't fight them off, or they're trying to figure out the best way to hold them off and fight them. Somebody comes up with an idea, probably, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could booby trap it with like mines or something? We don't have those. We don't have claymores. What do we have? Well, we got these bales of hay. We got a lot of kerosene. Why don't we and like little fuel drums? Why don't we just use that, set fire, and then they can't go through the fire? Probably didn't even think or occur to them that, by doing this, it would probably catch the whole building on fire and they wouldn't be able to get out in time because, it just didn't occur to them. And to me, it doesn't strike me as this is mass suicide. This is the will of our Lord and Savior.
It kind of was a mass suicide.
It was.
They killed themselves. They shot themselves in the head.
There was
multiple accounts of somebody killed David Koresh, probably at his.
I believe there's a movie that was made that they showed it was actually Schneider. But again, a lot of that, from what I've read, what we just covered, a lot of that had happened as the building is burning. I feel like a lot of people it wasn't like, this is divine will. This is like, I'm not going to burn to death.
I feel like that. I feel like at the end, David Koresh went to everybody and said, hey, we're moving on. We're going to the next life. This is how we're doing it.
I don't know.
Think about what fire and religion have to do with each other. The cleansing fire of the Holy Spirit, and
from what I've also read from the people who made it out, that never factored in.
Yeah, but how much we can take what they say with a grain of salt.
That's also true. I think
these people are brainwashed.
Unfortunately, I think the people who could have told us exactly went up in flames. It is an unknowable question. We will never know that because we weren't able to stop the fire and ask these people what was going through your mind, what was the whole point of it. We won't know if it was, did David order this to be like fulfill a prophecy, or was this like, hey, like the fires of the FBI can't get to us, and did they kill themselves because this was ordained by God, or they were just stupid and didn't realize, lighting fire in a wooden building where it tends to set everything else on fire. Yeah. I personally lean toward that. Now, in terms of the original question, I feel like now the government really just kind of clamps down on this. Anytime the days of prolonged sieges are kind of over, and it's because of Waco, because nobody wants to give people like David Koresh a platform.
It's cracking down on cults too. I mean, look at what happened. The most recent NXIVM.
Yeah, and even anti-government militias as well. There's the government just doesn't have the tolerance for them anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't. The days of letting these guys live out their days in northern Michigan or Montana are kind of done with. They find the first chance they get a crime to put on them, they get them, they wrap them up.
Yeah. So, thank you for listening to Scarlet Tavern. We're grateful you sat with this difficult history alongside us. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and we'll see you the next time for another deep dive into the stories that still shape us. Until then, raise a glass to understanding and to the hope that we can learn from the past before history repeats itself. And the next time on Scarlet Tavern, we're stepping into one of the darkest days in modern American history. The Oklahoma City bombing. It started as an ordinary Wednesday morning until, in a single devastating moment at 9:02 a.m., everything changed forever. It's going to be heavy, but we'll sit together around this table. Thank you for joining us tonight in the Scarlet Tavern, where the candles burn low, the stories burn deep, and the truth is always one drink away. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.